everybody. Mike Vincent. Welcome to FEI, Freight Executive Insights. I am not the freight executive with the insights today, but my new good friend and fellow LTL veteran, John Luciani, is. And he is the COO of LTL at Duie, Pyle. Welcome, John. How are you, man?
Thanks, Mike. Good to be here with you today. I appreciate it.
You like the way I nailed the pronunciation of your last name?
Knocked it out of the park.
I killed it, brother. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. Thanks for coming on, man. I mean,
Sure.
it's so, we were commiserating or talking about LTL life. Once you're in trucking, right? But then you're either truckload or LTL. I've been in both worlds, and they very much stay away from each other a bit. There's a bit of competition. Truckload's better than LTL. LTL is better. LTL's a bunch different.
It is for sure.
And a bit more difficult than truckload, right? You actually care what's in that truck, right?
Absolutely. Every single shipment.
Every single one. It actually matters what's in the truck, absolutely. But so how did you get into it, John? Were you just walking around and said, "Hey, truck's cool. Let me do this"?
No, it's funny. Is probably a lot, maybe similar to you and a lot of guys from my age, my vintage. I worked on a dock when I was in college.
Yeah,
and my original career aspirations were to be in law enforcement, and my stepdad had a friend that was a terminal manager at St. Johnsbury Trucking, which is a northeast regional powerhouse.
Yeah, St. Johnsbury. You're going way back, right?
Oh yeah. And, the rest is history. I fell in love with the industry. And I've been in the business since 1990, since probably 1985. It's crazy.
Yeah. All right. So we are of the same vintage. I stepped out to an open air dock in Toledo, Ohio. And I loved working in the -5, 40-mile-an-hour winds.
Oh yeah.
And I also loved the 95 degrees in the summer out there when they used to make you wear a tie, even though you were on a dock.
Exactly.
Right? And we were actually that Hagman Road facility roadway. You know what I'm talking about? That I'm sure you know exactly where that is. 3 sides bordered by a dump. What a great place to work in the summer.
I'm sure. And the business is a lot different today. I mean, we got the bug from either your necessity working while you were in college and then fell in love with the business, or today, we at Pyle we have a very active management training program, and like Roadway did years ago, they recruit out of college, and we try to teach these new college graduates the business of the business right after they get done with school.
Yeah, right. And they're aggressive and they're hungry and they want to make it done. Are you still looking? Is it still the same? I mean, dude, when we started, everybody was the same, right? We were athletic. We were aggressive. Everybody thought they could be the president of the company the next day. And they had, you know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. I know.
And everybody was exactly the same. I mean, you walk into any terminal, it didn't matter if it was ADU Pyle or New Penn or Pitt, Ohio or Roadway or Yellow. It was the same people running those docks, right? Is it
absolutely
still going over to the same people, or is it changing a bit to the tech side, or what do you see?
No, it is changing. Work-life balance is much more important to our young leaders, and we've got to evolve to be successful. In the old days, you could fish in another guy's pond. You could go hire a rep from or a frontline leader from Pilot Freight Carrier, St. Johnsbury Trucking, PIE, Transcon. Well,
PIE,
that pond is dried up. So now you've got to develop your leaders.
Yeah.
And, so it just presents new and interesting challenges. And if you don't evolve with the industry, you get left behind.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was in Altoona, right? You talk about all the other and this pond that you could fish in, right? So I was on the road I was on is Plank Road outside of Altoona. Right. And that was like my central hub there. You know where Altoona, Pennsylvania is, right? Smack dab. Yeah. Nowhere. Right in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly.
I mean, 100% nowhere.
That's crazy.
But you had Yellow, Roadway, ABF, Carolina, and Preston all bordered each other right down the road, right next to each other, right? And then over the years that I was there, eventually there was a Carolina tractor pulling an ABF um, an ABF trailer with another roadway pup behind it going down the road. I'm like, what the heck is that? Just
Yeah,
because things get so commingled and screwed up, and man, crazy.
it
That's
is crazy for
what
sure.
is going. But so you guys are how you guys faring through the LTL is a bit different than truckload, obviously, right?
Yep.
In the operations of it, and a lot of people who are in truckload don't really see or understand that difference. And we're not going to really get into that, but it is completely different. But it's also different from its impacts of a freight boom or freight recession, right?
Sure.
And we're obviously in a recession right now. How are you guys faring from that? Coming through the pandemic and then into this down trough?
Yeah, so if I could just step back a little bit, just give you a little history on Pyle.
Yeah.
Pyle's a 100-year-old. April 1st, 2024 was our 100-year anniversary. We just
Wow.
celebrated a birthday. Same family ownership from April 1st, 1924 to where we
Wow.
are today. It's really phenomenal. We're a privately held family-owned business with the same founding family leading the company today. We're privately held, family owned, but professionally managed with family influences, and that's really special. We have one active member of the third generation, Peter Latta, who's my boss. He's our CEO and chairman of the board. He's an attorney and a CPA by training and education, and then we have three active members of the fourth generation. My counterpart, Frank Ranieri, is married to my boss's oldest daughter. His brother-in-law, Billy Ladd, is a director of enterprise services, which he essentially runs our technology initiatives and industrial engineering. And then Jack Latta, who is Jimmy Latta was a VP of national sales, retired about 5 years ago. Jack Latta is a national account manager in the company. So, we've really got a really special story here. Unlike a lot of companies historically, we know that our greatest competitive advantage is the 4,200 Pyle people that create the service each and every day. And
Yeah.
what's good for those 4,200 stakeholders of the business is not materially different than what's good for the six shareholders or owners of the business. So, and that's how we treat the Pile team. We count on their discretionary effort. We work very hard to build trust. And one of your questions is about core values. We know that our core values are essentially the rudder on the ship, and we talk regularly about empathy, about treating others the way they want to be treated, and that's ultimately it's with respect. And if we create that good culture and good working environment, and then you couple that with, we overtly we tell our employees we take a long-term approach in everything we do. We share our financial performance with our employees. They see the reinvestment in rolling stock, in terminal network infrastructure, in warehouse operations, and in technology. And most importantly, they see the investment in the Pile team in terms of wage increases, benefits, paid time off, all those good things. You can't help but be enthusiastic and passionate about the business, and that's the secret sauce at Pile. And it all starts with our owners, starts from the top. And again, in addition to sharing our financial performance, we get out regularly. We get out regularly with the Pile team, and we have what we call annual meetings, or essentially town hall style meetings, where we talk about the good, bad, and the ugly of the prior year, what our key
Mm,
strategic initiatives going forward.
mm.
And then, halfway through the year, we'll go out and we'll have a hamburger with the team. And it's just all about open dialogue. And then we'll survey them anonymously to tell us, hey, how are we doing? Where are we lacking? Where are we falling behind? But where are we ahead? And what's funny is when you go out and talk to the Pile team, the questions are mostly questions about we instead of me. And when you have that we kind of scenario, they're about the greater good of the organization, and the team gets it. And that's
Yeah,
what makes Pile different.
And that's awesome because if for that to be successful, you truly have to have that culture from the leadership down that is 100% committed to it. Because a false we culture is a killer. That's going to destroy a company in a heartbeat because the BS meters go off and it's better to just say, no, we're against each other. That's more productive than a false we.
I agree 150%. You know,
Yeah.
in our environment, it's under promise and overperform,
Right.
and that's what really kind of makes us different as an organization.
I love it. Back in the day, we used to survey as well at Roadway Express, and it was funny because it tells you the time, and you were around in those times. We're of the same vintage as we talked about. But if you, as a manager, scored above a 75 in popularity or like below a 50, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, yeah.
As long as 30 to 40% of the employees hated you, you're doing a good
Yeah,
job.
if you were under 75%, you were soft, and that's bad.
That's exactly
But
right.
that's the way it used to be. In our environment, it's not adversarial. We count our employees to tell us, "Hey, how can we be more efficient? How can we reduce our claims cost? How can we reduce idling and reduce fuel consumption?" Because those are all material impacts and drivers on our business, and we're a cost-based business. If we don't make a profit, if we don't manage our cost effectively, we won't be around another 100 years, and that's the secret sauce at Pyle.
It really is, and what you're describing is, in a nutshell, is valuing those employees as much as those profits, right?
Exactly.
I mean, because that's how you get those profits, and that's how you do it. And if everybody's working towards the true meaning of the word sustainability of the company, right, to be here, and everybody can work, have a steady, good job, and retire from there better than when they started. That's the plan, right? I mean, that's the plan, right? When it comes down to it.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk all day about the different things we do. We provide career path opportunities, whether it's doctor, driver, and then you don't need a college degree to be a leader at Pile. If you have ability and ambition, and demonstrate the desire to do more, we'll give you the training because people coming out of high school, there may be a number of different reasons why they don't go to college right away, and it could be financial, family issues, obligations, maturity, just a litany of things. But here, if you demonstrate ability and ambition, you're a good cultural fit. The company will make the right investment in you and help you to achieve your career goals. And that's also different. And people
Yeah,
see that.
yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I always looked for when I was looking for a good LTL management supervisor, employee of any kind, was that willingness to make a decision. No has just make that decision and be able to learn from those mistakes. It truly was a fail fast, learn and move forward. That aggressive ability to make a decision, go for it, and then analyze and make the correct choice the next time. That's more important than anything else,
Right.
right? Because
Absolutely.
analysis to paralysis, it from every aspect in LTL is the death of the company.
No doubt about
From
it.
from running a break bulk dock to pricing out new freight, right?
Absolutely.
It'll kill it in a heartbeat. So how are you guys? Is that the difference? And let me ask you this. Let me ask you this because this is what I really wanted to get into a little bit was the pricing aspect of the business, right? Because the dynamic pricing is out there and changes and trying to go to just density based pricing and do away with class and all that other kind of stuff and the developments in you know cubing and dimensioning at the shippers and that type of stuff to avoid W&I corrections. Those type of things are changing the dynamics of the operations. No.
Sure. Sure. So here at Pile, I have responsibility for sales, operations, pricing, and industrial engineering. So I have a VP of yield management that reports to me. And pricing is it's 50% art and 50% science because
Right.
we certainly we have 24 cubiscan dimensioners in our network, so we very much d- rely on that data to validate our pricing assumptions. If the customer says they're shipping brake shoes and they're really shipping cotton balls, we want to know that because
Yeah. Yeah.
at the end of the day, we only sell space on a trailer. Um, and data and hey, you started with dynamic pricing. I get a little bit nervous about dynamic pricing because uh, you tend to commoditize yourself. I don't
Mm,
think if you're a premium service provider like Pyle is, for example, our on-time performance year to date is like 98.7% on time. We go from Baltimore to Boston overnight with very high reliability. Our claims ratio year to date is a 0.26% of revenue. you know, Customers will pay a premium if you provide predictable, reliable service. And we talk about educating our customers about what are the costs outside of the four corners of the freight invoice. So if you ship 3 pallets today with brand X and one delivers tomorrow and one delivers the following day and one delivers the third day, what was the cost of that impact, especially if that customer is shipping to a new customer?
mm, mm,
So,
mhm.
we're never gonna, we have to be a for-profit business. We want to produce a fair charge. But, as it relates to dynamic pricing, you know, we have our 3PL blankets. Um, and, beyond that, we haven't really been forced into a situation where dynamic pricing has been prevalent. I've watched some of the public carriers, a couple of the big public carriers, they're very active in the dynamic pricing space. Their bill count goes up and their margin goes down. And that's not a recipe for success in my mind. So
Yeah.
we're more sitting on the sideline. We have the capability to provide cubic pricing, dimensional pricing, because again, at the end of the day, we're dimensioning 42 or 43% of every shipment we handle every single day,
Mm,
and we've got a good handle on our costs, and that's really the key.
I got you. I was a W&I king, man. I could spot a correction from 7 doors away. Easy.
Uh,
I wasn't above measuring the inside diameter of copper tubes to change the class on that copper tube. Uh, so you mentioned, as an operations guy, and I was an operations guy first and foremost. I was into pricing and sales and all that kind of stuff, but I was an operations guy. We always talked about ugly freight, et cetera. And then, the old adage, there's no ugly freight, just poorly priced. I'm not 100% sure that's accurate.
well,
I'm
that's true.
still not sure as an operation guy I buy into that 100%. But so there's the dynamic. There's the idea of selective embargoing, if you will, right? Or making sure you've got the right freight mix. That is a big key in the operations and the success of LTL, right? I mean that's one of the huge differences between truckload and LTL.
Sure. So to your point, in our environment, it's about as much as what we don't put on the truck as we do put on
Exactly.
the truck,
Right.
especially in a tight driver market. You know, I was, we are very selective. We handle very little grocery warehouse business. We handle zero big A business, if you know who the big A is.
Oh yeah.
Um, and because to me, it's, in a tight capacity market, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have a driver sitting against the dock at a grocery warehouse for 5 hours, making 10 pallets into 30 pallets at the SKU level, and then to fight with the shipper about detention because you were 10 minutes late for the appointment. So we've made uh, some very specific decisions as to certain business that we will handle and what we won't handle. Um, we in a tight capacity market, just like everybody else, we're looking at over dimension shipments. We've done some creative things related to residential deliveries, where we've got the shippers to agree that we'll just put the freight out for delivery. So when the customer is buying on that shipper's website, they know that that's an overnight lane, and Pyle will put a essentially a rain jacket on the pallet and put it as close to the building. And we deliver hundreds of residential deliveries every day, and we have very very little noise. And that type of creativity has helped us to reduce our cost, which again we can gain share with the shipper. You can imagine if we were delivering these residential deliveries and there were all kinds of quality issues related to either theft or damage. If we weren't providing good quality service,
Mm,
they would
yeah.
tell us, hey, you got to stop that because there's no accountability. And that's not the case. And that's a credit. Once again, that's a credit to the Pile team. And that's why we were so culture and employee engagement focused, always again looking to build trust, always looking to count on our employees' discretionary effort because again, that's been the secret sauce for 100 years.
Yeah. Are you is the increase of size of residential deliveries that occurred during during the pandemic. Has that remained? Have you seen that still
It's
there?
probably pulled back a little bit,
It
Michael,
has.
but yeah, there's people, Amazon's had a pretty significant impact on customers' supply chains, shippers' supply chains, and as a regional carrier, we're ideally suited. I mean, we go from Richmond, Virginia, to Bangor, Maine, as far west as Cleveland, Ohio, and the greatest consumer population in the country for sure is along the I-95 corridor, especially in the metro, as you
Sure.
were, you were talking early on. And if you have the infrastructure and the technology and the resources to service that consumer population, then you're probably pretty well positioned.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but
I didn't back in the day. We didn't have those resources. I hated it.
yeah, well, residential deliveries can certainly be challenging, but
Yeah.
it's an important part of our business, and I think we do a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, that's excellent. So, as you're aware, there's a segment of the freight industry that's experiencing a bit of a freight recession.
Sure,
I don't know if you're aware of that or not,
I
but
might have heard about it.
yeah, I might have heard about it. But I mean, if you're in the business, you understand those indicators, right? Both pre-indication of what's going to happen, a trough or a peak, uh, and the dynamics between truckload and LTL are tremendous, right? I
Sure,
remember the summer of after the shutdown, right? We shut down like January or March, I guess we shut down for with COVID and everything like that. Everything started to shut down, but then by the middle of that summer, things were exploding, and I had an LTL colleague call me and say, "What in the hell is going on? We just had our largest revenue spike for a month, and I know it isn't because our sales reps suddenly became smart." And I was like, "Well, it's because there's no truckload capacity,
right,
and everybody's breaking it up into the volume spot market contract moves." It's like, and they were getting burned because you have to switch the use of that type of pricing depending on the volume of those that you're getting, right?
right.
So that's an indication of what was going on in capacity in the freight boom, right? Are you feeling the trough? Is it reached LTL now?
Uh, so, and I mean, I guess my response is, we're kind of bucking the trend at Pyle. We've had,
Okay.
we were in a freight recession. There's no doubt from the second half of 2022 to the first half of 2023, and Yellow finally closed their doors and officially in August of 23, and our business has
Right.
really been robust since then. High single digits, low double digits. Month over, we look at month over month, and then you kind of normalize. We look at shipments on a per day basis, which in March we had two less work days than March of 23, and April we had two extra work days just because of the way the calendar fell. So we that's why we look at it. We look at the month for the number of work days in that month, and then we look at the business on a per day basis, and
Sure.
and we've been bucking the trend, and part of that is. Um, I think our shipment size is smaller. Our customers are making as many shipments, but their consignees are buying less quantity,
Mm,
just
mm,
because
mm,
of concerns with the economy, inflation, cost of goods, cash flow, etc. The cost of money is more expensive these days,
mhm.
but clearly, we're bucking the trend. Because the shipment size is smaller, here's an interesting fact: it's harder for the truckload guys to go find these volume LTL shipments and put them together on it and make a truckload or a
Yeah,
truckload
yeah,
and a stop off, just because the economy is in a little bit of a recession
yeah.
still. But we've done some creative things in terms of new business verticals that we've moved into, and we've had some geographic expansion kind of at the same time, and that's created a little bit of a buffer. And unlike truckload, the barriers to entry in LTL are difficult. I mean, if you look at the yellow auction and some of the dollar values that those terminal or service centers went for financially, I mean, just we looked at we bought a terminal in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania that was 25 million dollars. It was an 80 door terminal in Trenton, New Jersey that went for $71 million. It just was the cost per door is staggering.
Yeah,
If you're
that
a
is.
truckload guy, you just it's how do you get into that? How do you?
Yeah,
So,
no, the barriers to entry are much, much greater in LTL. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. So, what are you guys looking towards the future? You guys, is it very much like truckload? Truckload's kind of thinking, yeah, we're going to drag on for a bit in this area here. Does that bode well for what you guys are thinking and where you guys are at, or I guess what is your final thoughts on where we're at and where the industry is at this
well,
moment?
yeah, I think it's an election year, so it'll be a little bit of a wait and see for most people. We're
Yeah.
financially conservative, so we're always gonna err on the side of maybe a downturn, and we're going to be nimble enough. I mean, your comments about COVID were right on. Our business went dropped 40% essentially overnight, and we had to adjust. Ask me, one of your questions was about challenges, and the COVID pandemic was the greatest challenge of my career, but we're conservative, so I think that I think LTL will remain relatively stable for the rest of 2024 because there's good pricing discipline in the market. There's not a lot of excess capacity.
Mm,
Companies that have added additional service centers, they have been disciplined and not reduce the price to put more freight in the truck line. And as long as that you don't have that pricing action that all creates an avalanche of the pendulum swings back the wrong way. I think 2024 is going to be an okay year, honestly.
yeah. All right. That's awesome. Hey, I appreciate that very much, John. Hey, there's every shipper on the Eastern Seaboard is listening to this right now. Where are they going to book their next LTL shipment, man? Let's fill out those trucks, brother. Cube utilization, my friend.
Exactly. Well,
Let's
Mike,
get
I
it done.
appreciate you having me on. I always love talking about Pyle and always love to you know chop it up with an industry veteran.
Amen, brother. Keep it going, brother. Hey, and the best dock production is zero, right? Build
I'm gonna contemplate that.
Yeah, just hey, build your direct loads out on the pickup side of your P&D operation
Uh,
and save some money.
Right on.
Right on. Peace and love, brother. Thanks for
All
being
right,
here,
man.
everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time on FEI.